it, right, is there's lots of condensation on here, right? So basically what we're doing without this layer, when we just got this top layer, we know that water always condenses on the coldest surface. The poly is always the coldest surface in here. So what happens is we get water condensing and we get a cloud effect, right? So we kind of are trapping that in. So what happens in the winter is trapping heat up here isn't really doing us any good, right? We don't have plants growing up there. So what we do is basically lower that cloud layer, right? This is still acting as a cloud layer up above, but we're trapping that heat closer down to the plants, and then we're also trapping it up above. So there's a couple different options, right? There's this poly to be able to use. We've used 4-year new that we bought, and then we've used 6-year that's come off the top of the old structure when we change it out. The poly works really, really well. It holds more heat than row cover, but it takes more management, right? It's not breathable. So if you get a sunny day, it gets really hot under there really fast, right? And then what ends up happening is you cook the stuff, right? So it might get 90 degrees under there really quickly. And is your Department of Ag MDA? Maine Department of Ag? Right? So as soon as stuff starts cooking under there, then it becomes a processed product, and then they're all over you. So what we do use this. What's nice about it is, yeah, it's warmer, it takes more management, but it's more durable. Right? For us, we used to do row cover at the student farm. We have a lot of volunteers, and we have a lot of students that come out. And those of you who work with row cover know if you grab it and yank, well, you tend to bring half of it with you and leave half of it behind. So for us, it was clearly a durability issue of not tearing up a bunch of row cover. So that's kind of why we've gone to that. We've also gone, I noticed, to one big covering instead of covering individual beds. And again, covering individual beds works, nothing wrong with it. But the way we think about it is it's like a mitten or a glove. So I'll ask another question. Is a mitten warmer or a glove warmer? Mitten. And why is a mitten warmer? And if we think about less surface area, right? So in a glove, you're losing heat from all these. So this is kind of like, you can think about these are individual beds covered. This is kind of like, one big one covered. So what we have is, this is covering all the beds, right? So we have less surface area to lose heat from. Again, that doesn't mean that covering individual beds doesn't work. I am not saying that at all. But we're trying to optimize things. We're thinking about, less surface area to lose heat from. So there's the poly, right? And then, here's an option that we usually do it on conduit. And then this one has, so this one has a roll-up bar on it. I think I got a picture of it in the afternoon talk that you can kind of see. So what happens is it rolls up, rolls across. So you don't have to walk down, 10 feet and push it, go down 10 more feet and push it, go down 10 more feet and push it. So you just stand at one end and roll it up and over. Right, so then here's at home, we do this style more. Was there a question?
I just got lost a little. So you say that you can put plastic over instead of row cover, but then it won't breathe and it'll cook.
So it's more management. So when it's sunny, you have to. So the question was, you can put the row cover or the poly over it, but it'll cook. So what you have to do on sunny days is really definitely be out there to open it up. So for us at home, no row cover breathable means the same thing as the roll-up sides, right? We can leave in the morning and not want to open it. If it gets sunny and we're not there, it's breathable. And clearly it's getting warmer under there, but we're not cooking stuff.
What's the height on the internal cover?
So we're about 40 inches or so. And the reason that we do that is a couple. So we've seen that there's kind of this optimum. If we're right down, right, again, if this is the coldest surface, we know we don't want it to be touching the crops. If you get condensation on there, it's touching the crop, it freezes, and it freezes through the crop, we're going to get some crop damage. But we know also that that's the coldest surface, so when we're real close to the crop, a lot of times we'll get it, being cold temperatures right by the crop. So we've raised it up some to try to get some more volume in there, to heat up a little bit more temperature. And then the other thing is there's those days, right, we can't harvest if it doesn't get above freezing. So there's those days where it's like 33, 34 in there, and you can get it in harvest, but it's cloudy, so we don't want to open the whole thing up and let all that heat that's built out. So at 40 inches, we're pretty comfortable lifting it up, and you're getting under there, in there, and you can be in there, close it back behind you, be harvesting, and then when you're ready, you can just kind of lift it up and set whatever you harvested out and go on and do that. So you can get under there, function, move around, for the most part, without letting that heat out.
So is that 40 inches from the top of that
Yeah, to about here, yeah. So the row cover then is what we use at home. I really like, again, the row cover. I like it because it's breathable. There's only my wife and I. We have a couple people that come out and help us occasionally. But we can really talk through, like, this is why you don't pull row cover. This is why you don't yank on it. So what we have is high tensile wire running 4 runs of it. And then we have 3 pieces. So that's running end to end. It's just tied into the wall like that with the wire strainer. And if you didn't, you know, if you had, I wouldn't do that without metal end walls or on a movable one. I'd sink a stake or sink a post, which we have here, and we have another one there. So our 2 middle ones have posts sunk in because we have slider doors. So if we attach to the uprights, we'd not be able to get inside. So what we have is these running end to end, and then we've took, so that's about 40 inches also. We've took 3 sheets of 40 by 30 row cover and turned them this way. So you can see there's one in the foreground here, and one here, and one here. And we could just do it with 1 big sheet, but the reason we did it with these 3 individual ones is if we want to get to a bed, this is open on a sunny day, but if you want to get to, like, you know, any of these beds, we only need to move the row cover in any direction, just 3 beds. Right? So if we have 1 big sheet and we want to get to the middle, we have to pull it all the way down. So this way we can split it and walk in kind of in the front and, you know, 30 feet down, 30 feet down, and 30 feet down. So, and then it's 40 feet because we're 34 wide. So what we have is enough that it can come up here, go across here, and go down. So that goes ground to ground. That's really important on these covers to get things to go ground to ground. If it's a gap there, you've got a space where cold air is coming in and warm air is going out. And then at the ends, let's probably a better picture here. So this piece here that goes onto the ends, we just cut those at 5 feet by more or less 30 feet, and they go on and they just stay in place, right? So what we don't have then is the top piece having to come over this wire and come kind of fold and come down. So the top 3 pieces just go vertically, and then those 2 end ones just stick there. Yep?
What are you hanging that on?
It's high tensile wire. So you can see those. So it's just like you would use for animal fencing.
So like number 9?
It's bigger than 9. I think it's 12. No, it's the other way, isn't it? Small. Gauge is smaller, so it might be 6. It's at our animal store, at our mill, you can only buy one size of it, and it's for animal fencing. So like if you were doing electric fencing for like sheep or horses or beef or something like that, it's that same thing. And they sell the wire, at least for us, they sell the wire strainers right next to it.
How heavy is your roll cover, sir?
It's around 19, so it's 0.55 ounces. So the question was, what weight is that? It's 0.55 ounces, so the second lightest per square yard. So again, that's trying to balance the economics of it. You know, we could put heavier on, but then it's going to cost more. We might get less light. But if we can get away with using the 19, then I think all the better we can get away with using the 19. You couldn't do the high tensile wire with the poly. It's too heavy. It would just sag. So what we see is, you know, for this system, it costs about $65 or so to set up. For that row cover, I'm sorry, for the conduit one with the poly, it's about $250 to $300 in conduit. So it's a lot cheaper to do this, and in my mind, less management. So, but again, if you've got lots of people coming out, you just got to make sure they know how to play with row cover and not tear it.
So does two people have to pull out at the same time on the row cover?
No, so you can. It goes faster if you have people on each side and you pull at the same time. But like at home, you know, it's cold and we've got a daughter that's 2, so we don't take her out really in the tunnel unless it's warmer. So if we're running out to close at night, one of us will just run out. You can, you know, pull on this side, run around, pull that side. It takes to close that. It probably takes me more than 5, less than 10. If you have 2 people, it's real fast. You just walk down and pull it. I was thinking about, I don't know how well, you might have to get heavier row cover, which we have to replace ours this year, well, next year. I'd like to get kind of some grommets that hang on that row cover, or hang on that wire, and then clip onto the row cover, and then you could just, like a shower curtain, right? You could just slide it. But I think we need heavier row cover. I think those would tear real quickly. So So on the edge, the question was what are the path widths on the edges? So our width on the edges are 2 feet, and then our in the row or in the bed are 1 foot. I think if we were to do it again, if we ever reform the beds, and which we'll probably do sometime, I think I would do 3 feet on one side and on like the south side and 1 foot on the north side, so that you could get like it's when we take our wheelbarrow down that 2 feet, we're hitting the wall and we're catching the edge of a bed. So I think pushing 3 feet to one side, just not even walking on that north side unless we had to get in there to do something. Again, it's still that marginal. If it's 2 feet marginal, that last foot might be. But I think being able to get like harvest cart or wheelbarrow or something down an aisleway might be a little more, a better design. Yeah.
Is the height the same for when you're using row cover as when you're using that plastic setup?
Yeah, we're about 40-ish inches, 40 inches or so. Yeah.
Those temperature controlled pistons, I've seen them advertised, I've never seen them. You ever fool with those? They work okay?
So for venting?
Yeah, for a butterfly or something like that?
Yeah, so the question was about the paraffin wax pistons. So we work with some farmers who use those for end vents. They work, in my opinion, they work really well, but they tell you that you're not supposed to use them when it's below freezing. So, you can use them 3 seasons. I think what my understanding, I should say I haven't worked a lot with them, this is more from talking to the people that use them, is they say that when it freezes, when that wax freezes, it kind of changes the thermal properties of it, right? So the way it's working is it heats up, that wax expands, it pushes an arm and it opens a vent. When it freezes, that temperature that it expands and contracts at, when it unthaws, changes also. I'm told, I don't say that I know, but I think in the winter what you would do is you could just not vent, or you could just go ahead and have it on a system where you took that piston out, took it inside so it didn't freeze, and then just had a little pull cord or something on it to use. And that's clearly a less expensive option. We were just looking at it with a farmer that sells at our farmers market we sell at, and he found them for like 45 bucks online.
Is there another type of automatic shutter opening that would be able to be used in cold temperature?
So another type of automatic that's not electric. Yeah. I don't know. So the question was, is there another type of non-electric opener that could be used when it's cold? Does anyone, I don't know one. Does anyone know that wouldn't be a motor powered one? I didn't hear that. Oh, sure. Yeah, so the bimetallic strips like that you have on temperature sensors, like on your chimney, you got a wood stove, right, where they're expanding at different rates, and that's great. And yeah, thanks. Another question?
Yeah. We roll cover and drape over and touch the ground. Are you making any attempt to seal into the ground, or you just let them drape on the ground?
Yeah, no, so the question is, do we let, when the row cover comes down and touches the ground, are we trying to seal it? No, we just let it come down, and we have enough that it lays on the ground, or it comes down and lays out a little bit, but we aren't trying to seal it down in there or anything. So I think we're about time to switch over. Maybe one more question, and then we'll switch on over.
Are there any other questions out there?
Yeah, Dave.
What are you using for materials for sideboards and boards and all that?
Here's the question for kind of baseboard, sideboard, hipboard materials. So baseboards were if you're certified organic, you can't use treated lumber. So there's a couple options. There's untreated lumber, which at the student farm has lasted a lot longer than I ever thought it would, and I think than any of us ever thought it would. But at home and in one of the student farm, we've gone with the polycarbonate baseboards. So it's 21-inch polycarbonate. We put 2 runs of metal and then put it on there. The reason we did that at home was we wanted to build a house that had no lumber on it. We had a little bit of cash, extra cash to spend, so it was like upfront cost versus long-term maintenance. So we've got that, and then we've really almost exclusively gone for hipboards, gone to the double-channel aluminum extrusion. So it looks like one piece of wiggle wire, but they extrude it so that it's 2 of them together. And the same reason we did that was that we're trying to do low. It costs a little more, but it's no long-term maintenance. Hopefully, I never have to replace the hipboards on that house there. So.
What did you say your name?
It's double-channel aluminum. So they call them double-channel extruded aluminum. Yeah, and it just looks like two wiggle wire channels together.
Note down any other questions you have, and we can take them during the discussion period. That should be a nice long period in the afternoon. We're going to take a break now before we come back, and Bruce Hoskins is going to talk about soils. A lot of people moving around. Try to aim to get back to your seat at about 11:27, and we're going to start at 11:30 right on the dot.